Hello, Who Dat Nation. All my friends down in New Orleans. Miss you guys and gals. So Carney Training Facility here in Carlsbad, California. Carney Coaching. We had a busy spring, winter, spring, getting a lot of college guys ready for pro days, combines, tryouts, so on and so forth. One of our guys was Tyler Bass, drafted by the Buffalo Bills. I think he's got a good shot of making that team. Tommy Townsend was here. Did a very good job. I know Tommy and his brother Johnny. Tommy is presently signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he'll have a good opportunity there going against former Notre Dame punter Tyler Newsome. So they're going to have a good battle. Just recently, last week, we had the launching pad, the 8th annual launching pad. What the launching pad is a 1-week intense training session for NFL specialists only to prep themselves mentally and physically for training camp in the season. Professional athletes, kickers and punters, NFL players in a normal, regular off season, which we know we're not in right now, in July, knowing that it's the last opportunity for them to go on family vacations, take care of honeydews around the house, go to the DMV, get that last vacation in with the family and friends. They get a little bit off their cycle, their system, their routine as far as training is concerned, and they can end up at training camp not quite tuned in mentally and physically the way they would like to be. So this launching pad week, I created this 8 years ago. It's intentionally about a week and a half to 2 weeks out prior to training camp for the NFL guys to come in and really fine tune themselves physically and mentally. Learned from me. We gave presentations this past week, presentations on longevity. I know a couple things about longevity. And we had a nutrition presentation. We also had a presentation on game time routine and pre-game routine. So important that a player's routine, especially a kicker and punter, they're doing the right things in pre-game to prepare them for the game. They're understanding of the conditions and the challenges of that field and stadium. And then during the game, what are they doing to keep themselves mentally and physically on point, and not getting themselves emotionally pulled into the game where they're following the ebb and flow of the game, win or lose, and they lose their own even keel focus on their swing thoughts and their method of their madness to get the job. So launching pad in the books, and now we're preparing for the Specialist Preseason Combine. This will be the 4th year we've run the Specialist Preseason Combine. I created this for the free agent specialists that are on the short list of many NFL teams. Many of these guys have NFL experience, or they're right there on the edge of making a team, and they're on the short list of teams around the country, and they need an opportunity to get in front of scouts and get in front of personnel people right before the season starts. So all 32 NFL teams have an updated list and a correct list of what these specialists look like in August going into the season. It breaks my heart when I see a team that has a need for a kicker or punter or a long snapper because their starter gets hurt or is underperforming, and I see the guys that they call up and fly in for that workout, and they're the wrong guys. They're just out of shape, or they're not punting or kicking or snapping well, or there's somebody better that they could have brought in and they missed on it. So I want to make sure these NFL teams have their list and the correct players. And for me personally, when I'm training these guys that come through Carlsbad, that come through Carney Training Facility that I see during the course of the year, I want to make sure our guys have an opportunity, again, to get in front of those personnel directors and show them, hey, it's time, they're ready to go, and they should be on that list as things get started for the season. So those are our big deals right now. We have some college kids here that are still floating around training. High school kids, high school football here in California was just postponed to the winter So we have a lot of high school kids that are available now for lessons. We're doing lessons and clinics with those guys. Gives them an opportunity, another 3-4 months to tune in their game and to improve. And of course, the challenge for them is the upperclassmen. How can I get some exposure with the colleges when I'm not having a season this fall? So we're going to address that this fall and try to get these kids connected with some colleges, even though they're not having a season, but get some good film out to those colleges and start that dialogue with those special teams coaches so these kids can feel like they can get recruited, even though they're not having a season this fall. Information safely.
Hey, John, this is Rod Walker with the Times-Picayune Advocate. We don't know the NFL's what the guidelines are going to be as far as fans are in the stands and all that, but how different mentally is that for a kicker to line up for a kick with, if they have to do it in a game-winning kick in an empty stadium? How different would that be? And what kind of advice did you give a kicker having to go through that?
It's going to be bizarre. We talked about it. Soccer's been doing it now for a while over in Europe with no fans, and baseball's just starting. I know for football, the crowd, the presence of the crowd, the crowd noise, whether they're for you or against you, it's a great adrenaline booster. And I think players are they're gonna miss and have a lack of that adrenaline boost because, again, there's no response from the crowd. Someone's going to score a touchdown and you're going to hear your own players, "Hey, great job, Rod, excellent catch." Or you'll hear stuff on the sideline. You're going to hear, as a player, you're going to hear a whole host of things from coaches. You may even hear referees in a conversation behind you that normally you wouldn't hear in a stadium environment where the stadium has capacity and it's full of fans. So it's going to be very bizarre. It's going to feel stale. It's going to feel very vanilla, neutral, much like a scrimmage. I think it's going to be very odd for many of the players. It's going to take a while to get used to that. Walking into a full stadium as a professional athlete, seeing, hearing, feeling the fan presence. Again, it's a big adrenaline rush, and it clicks your mind and your soul into it's ready time, it's game time. Now I'm trusting my preparation and let's get it done day. And you're not going to have that trigger anymore. And it's going to be bizarre. I think you're going to see some lackluster play for a while until players can adjust to that. But I do believe you'll see some lackluster play because that trigger of the response in the environment of a full stadium will not be there.
You talked about longevity earlier, and one of your teammates is still hanging around. Well, a couple of them are, but Drew Brees, he just turned 41. Is there an example from when you were playing with him for that short time? Oh, you didn't play with him. Excuse me. I'm losing my. Oh, from what you've seen, I guess, from him, just watching him play, like, is there something that he does from your perspective that, is a big reason as to why he's still hanging around and is playing at a high caliber?
Absolutely. And I did play with Drew twice, actually, 2006 and 2009.
Right. That's right.
Drew very well. When he first came to the Chargers, I got to see him a lot here in the off season, still very involved and stuff together. We actually ran a golf tournament together and love the guy. Amazing professional on and off the field. I've never experienced or been a part or seen, and we'll just keep it in football terms, a professional football player that has been in the league for 10 or more years that doesn't have an amazing work ethic, an amazing system of training on and off the field, detailing his training on and off the field, very, very conscientious about his health, what he does, high risk versus low risk activities, and always scratching the surface. How can I get better? And that's Drew Brees in a nutshell. That's Jerry Rice in a nutshell. That was Junior Seau in a nutshell. Guys who last a long time. They have a system, they have a work ethic, and they're always looking to get better. They study the game, they become students of their game. They become a master of their craft, but it never stops. And that's Drew. Drew doesn't get outworked. He doesn't get outstudied. He's working hand in hand with offensive coordinators, the head coach, Sean Payton. So it just, and Tom Brady, you know, same mold. That's why these guys are so good and continue to put up numbers. The longevity calculation is when you're young, you survive in the league because of your physical traits. You're the middle of your career physically, you still have the testosterone, the strength, the speed, the quickness, but now you're gaining experience and wisdom. And your later years, and Drew's 41, so that's really young. I mean, I finished at 46, so he's still a young puppy. But you really depend on that wisdom and experience as you get older. Your physical attributes start to decline a little bit, and you start making up for that with better preparation, better anticipation. You start focusing on recovery more than I shouldn't say more than training, but recovery becomes a very important topic because your training needs to adjust because your recovery is a little bit slower. So recovery becomes a very big issue. But that wisdom goes a long way. And that's why you see guys, again, like a Drew Brees, who can still play at an extremely high level. He's a smarter, wiser guy now than he was, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. Now, could he throw the ball a little bit faster, a little bit farther 10 years ago? Probably, but he can anticipate and understand and outsmart the defense a heck of a lot better now than he could back then. So it all balances out, and it's really special to watch someone of his caliber continue to work the system. And when I mean work the system on the field in the game of football, to understand the nuances of it and to continue to stay a step ahead of the defense.
Hey, John, Ashley Amos with the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take you back in time a little bit, but with training camp gearing up, obviously it's going to look a little different for the players this year. But do you personally have a favorite memory from training camp during your career?
Well, I do have a few. I was spoiled out here in San Diego for a long time. We had a training camp at UCSD, University of California, San Diego, on the cliffs of La Jolla, overlooking the Pacific Ocean with a cool breeze every day and beautiful grass that looked just like the grass at the Torrey Pines golf course, which was right down the road. So totally spoiled. And then I was transported to the New Orleans Saints at Nicholls State. We had training camp there for a couple of years, and this is kind of a fun memory, but it was crazy hot, crazy humid, as you know. The fields backed up to swamp and sugarcane. I thought I was in the movie Waterboy. We did pull an alligator off the practice field prior to a practice. Some Cajun guy showed up in a truck and caught the gator and taped him up with duct tape. It was about a 7-foot gator. I asked the guy what he was going to do with the gator. And he just turned at me like I was an idiot and said, "I'm taking him home to eat him." So I was like, okay, of course you are. Later in that same training camp, I woke up from my afternoon nap, ready for the second practice, hearing a really loud noise coming from the practice field, but I couldn't see what it was, but it sounded like an Indianapolis race car. Just a really loud noise. I got over there to find out that there was a swamp airboat going back and forth on the grass stadium field to dry the grass after an afternoon shower. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is definitely out of the water, boy. But those are some of my fond memories of first coming to the Saints. Of course, having training camp in Old Metairie is a lot more comfortable. Having training camp at Millsaps was really tough when Sean Payton first came in and really wanted to see what we were made of. He took us out to Millsaps in Mississippi, and that was tough. But that was the foundation of a great team. We had that that Cinderella season in 2006, and we one game away from making it into the Super Bowl. Just ran into a tough Chicago Bear team, and then but that was the foundation of the team that ended up going to the Super Bowl in 2009. So it all started there at Millsaps in Mississippi with Sean Payton. So those are some of my fond memories of training camp. Guys, the players, I think, as tough as training camp can be, we really look forward to it. The off season, all the training, all the preparation, and then finally you get to training camp and it's real football, helmets, shoulder pads. We're ready to go. And now the clock is ticking. We have a game in a few weeks, and it's very, very exciting. And everybody's 0-0. Everybody's a Super Bowl contender, going into August, and it's very exciting for everybody.
Kind of a big picture question here. You're one of the few people that played with the Saints, before all of the glory, and then you got a taste of that too. So how has your perception of them changed from, the time you entered the league, the time you played for them the first time, and then the time you came back?
Well, I would give a lot of credit to Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, and Tom Benson. They made a decision collectively in 2009 that they were going to change the culture of football and the franchise starting in 2009. And they really did. And that's not an easy thing to do. And they put some money behind it. They put some players behind it. They took some risks. They went out and grabbed Drew Brees, who had his shoulder repaired, and who knows, nobody knew what that shoulder was going to look like on the field. He hadn't thrown a pass when they signed him, hadn't thrown a pass since the surgery. That was a big risk. Obviously, that paid off really well. And they just collectively did a phenomenal job of putting down a blueprint that was very successful. I know, talking with Mickey Loomis a year ago, franchises from all professional sports, baseball, basketball, and football, have contacted Mickey Loomis. How did you guys change the culture? How did you turn around a franchise that for so many years was up and down, hot and cold, almost good, almost making it, not making it, and turning around and making it a location that professional athletes, football players, wanted to come to? In the past, you said New Orleans Saints, and it's kind of like saying, well, I don't even want to bring out other names of other teams, but there are teams that players would love to play for, are excited to have an opportunity to get a phone call from the GM, hey, would you be interested in playing for us? And then there's some franchises that are like, well, if there's another opportunity, I'd rather go somewhere else. And now there's players banging on the door at the Saints. I want to play for the Saints. I want to be part of the New Orleans Saints organization. And that was an amazing transformation by those three gentlemen to really turn this thing around. And I, like you said, I had an opportunity to play with the team prior to that, 2006, and post 2006, and amazing the changes they made, and the environment, the optimism, the excitement, and the challenges now that that team now possesses. It's wonderful to be a part of it and to see it from the inside out.